Boom, what's up, everybody? Got Gibran or G Money or G. Was it G
Yep.
Breezy? Is that
Be
the other one?
breezy. Yep.
G Breezy from Washington. Welcome, man. Super pumped to have a conversation with you. This is fun. These are the fun conversations because you and I don't really know each other, right? Like we
Yeah.
don't like we this is totally an introduction for both of us. So super pumped to get to know you and just kind of hear about your journey and your philosophy on things and just like things that you value. But before we get rocking and rolling, a wild or funny story, what you got for everybody?
Okay. So my cousin lives in Switzerland, and I like planned this trip, and I'm pretty type A, so I like to be really organized. So we were gonna I was gonna fly to Switzerland, and then from there we're gonna fly to Italy together. And I had an
Okay,
itinerary and everything.
of course.
2 days before I fly, he's like, "Hey, by the way, like my visa or whatever, like I can't go to Italy with you." But he waited because he knew how I am.
Yeah,
So I was like, oh my God, how do I pull out of this? Like, I never solo traveled, blah, 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 blah. So, anyways, I'm like, I can't do this. I'm gonna have to do it by myself and just go to Italy. Long story short, I go to the airport, we show up to fly to Rome, canceled. They're like, okay, we'll rebook you for the next day. So I come
yeah,
back the next day and it just keeps getting delayed and delayed and delayed. And I'm like, shoot, what's gonna happen? So I met this family from Singapore. And this guy that was like from Italy, he was flying back to Italy. He's like, "Oh, if you guys want, we can take the train and blah blah blah. Like, just follow me." And this is so not like me, but
yeah.
I was like, I need to get there. So yeah, we took the train. It was like two families, this guy and I had the time of my life. So that's
That's
my fun
That's
story.
wild. Yeah, you got to be I thought you were going to go as far as like you stayed with them or something like that. Like
No, but it was
they
such a
house.
fun because it's a long trip. It's like because from Switzerland to Rome, it was like an 8 hour trip.
Shoosh, yeah.
But it was such a fun adventure, and yeah.
Yeah.
It just
That's
showed me that you
awesome.
gotta.
That's awesome. Yeah, and it's funny. We'll just tell everybody before we even like hit record on this. You were like, I need to know what we're going to talk about, right? Like I need a plan. So, but this will be fun. I think a little bit for like me, selfishly, like as we dive in, is I guess like give me a little bit like of your journey and just like how got into coaching and why is I'm always intrigued because I mean, I guess at some level, some people can be a hybrid of both, but I know for me is like the coaching side that I got into was because of a lot of pain that I experienced. And I was like, oh man, like I don't want people to experience that pain.
Yeah.
And so it's like, let me share my journey so that I can coach them. Some people had a really great experience, right? And it's like, it's a pleasure, right? They're like, oh, like this was amazing. I want everyone else to experience this. And so as you kind of got into coaching, like, was it like pain? Was it pleasure? Just curious, yeah, about your
Yeah, it was
journey.
kind of non-traditional. So I like watched the Sydney Olympics when I don't even know how old I was. I was pretty young.
Yeah.
I told my parents I don't want to do that, and they put me in, and I was really bad at it. So I quit, never thought about it again. And then my sister was doing gymnastics, and I needed community service hours for my high school.
Oh,
And like my
wow.
friends were like going to the animal shelter and like doing that kind of thing. And I was like, I'm just gonna ask the gym if they need any help. So they were like, yeah, you can coach this like little toddler class. So I started
Right.
coaching that, made a little bit of money, but I honestly had no passion for it at the time.
Yeah.
And then the person that I was shadowing ended up leaving for college. So the pre-team director or team director came up to me and she was like, hey, what do you want to take over this pre-team class? And this is what it entails, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, sure. And like one thing about me is like I like a challenge and I like to figure things out. And I've always been really competitive. So that's always been there.
Mm, mm.
So the minute I knew like, oh, you could compete level three, it was like the level three Olympics, like you gotta
Yes.
like how do I get better at this? And it just kind of kept going very naturally. But funny enough, now looking back, I've always liked teaching. So I think
Mm,
that's where I connected, like something that
mm,
I liked, even though I was not good at it, but I love gymnastics, like the sport itself, with the competitiveness that I enjoy, with the teaching aspect. Like I was one of those people that like when I was in elementary school, like I would play classroom with like
oh,
my
yeah.
friends and my cousins, and of course I was the teacher.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that's where it all kind of connected. But yeah.
And then as you started to learn more and like I guess evolve as a coach, um, was the dream always to be in college, right? Like, or because I feel like when people coaches get in, it's like, I don't know, so they want to be a really good club coach, right? Or they have this like dream. It's like, I want to build and progress so that like I get an opportunity in college. What was that like for you?
Huh. Yeah, not really. I mean, I would say the first few years just kind of were really flowy and natural because I was still in college and I was my plan was not to coach, to be honest with you. And then my senior year of college, I went to school for communication studies.
Mm,
I did an internship and I was like, this is really not for me.
yeah.
So then that's when I really locked in and I was like, I need to find a way to still coach, but make it more of a high level thing and like make it a career versus like a side gig that I do while I go to school. So that's when it's funny because you network without really knowing that you're networking. I had met a couple people and I ended up knowing that a gym had an opening, Sega in Southern California. They've been around for a while and talked to the owner and she's like, no, her name's Kathy. So shout out to Kathy. And she's like, no, we don't have like, we're looking for a head coach at the time, which was like 8, 9, 10. And I had no experience at that level.
Yeah.
So she was like, but yeah, just leave me your number and we'll see. And then like 2 weeks later, she called. She's like, well, if you want, like we could find a position for you.
Mm,
It meant like driving a little further and like maybe some things didn't make sense, but something in me said like this is where you need to be to learn.
yeah.
So that positioned me in a way that I could learn. But I was there for a few years and like got to see a lot and kind of like she was really open to like come and shadow the 10 bar rotation or like come and shadow my beam rotation. And I coached tops. And so it gave me a good amount of experience, but it also allowed me to learn without like doing. But then at some point you got to learn by doing.
Get thrown to the wolves.
Yeah. And at the time there was no opening there. And then Cale Robinson, who now owns a gym here, he's a good friend of mine. We knew each other and he was at Airborne in the Bay Area. And he called me. He's like, hey, we need someone for like level 8, 9, 10. And I'm like, I really haven't done 9, 10, like just so you know. And he's like, you'll be great at it. And I was like, like
Are
I
you
said, like
sure?
I like a formula. The one like once I know I have figured it out, I feel good. But sometimes like I need people to push me a little bit because I do
Yeah.
like to be very like sure that I can do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I went there and that was kind of like our way of taking what I've learned and what he had learned and what the staff knew and like putting it into practice, which is different than like shadowing a bar rotation and being like,
Well,
oh yeah,
100%.
she's tapping late. Like it's not the same like seeing that she's tapping late. That's like you're actually responsible for teaching
Yeah.
her down and then letting go of the bar and then like tossing her over the bar. So it was a fun experience. And then college was never really a thought until I started coaching athletes that went back to college and they would come back. And I mean, a lot of times I'd known these kids for years,
Mhm.
but one semester in college, they just seemed like a new human being.
Yeah.
And I was
Yeah.
like, that's really cool that you get to be with them during that part of their life. So that's when the itch kind of came in, and I was like, oh, maybe that'd be cool to like work with them at that pivotal stage of your life.
Yeah, that's it's interesting too. I'd love to get your perspective on this because I know for me is like I started owning like a strength and conditioning gym, right? And then like the conversations evolved and then I was like, "Oh, I started to realize as college kids would come back to my gym, I was like, man, like I can really have like much deeper conversations,
Yeah.
right? As they turn 18, 19,
Yeah,
20.
yeah,
And
that's literally what it is.
I was like, I feel like I can make so much more of an impact, like if I just gave my attention to that. So is that kind of your experience so
A
far?
little bit, yeah, because it's like I love club and like I like the process of like teaching and developing, and there's something so cool about like being there for every step of the way. And in a way, it
Yep.
makes part of the coaching is easier because like at Sega, we had such a same at Airborne, like it's such a system that just
Mm-hmm.
moves and builds itself. And by the time they get to you, like they know the drill, like that you're
Yeah.
not, and they know your expectations as a program. And but to your point, like yeah, when they go to college, it's like there's just this maturity level and this, and I mean, we get to coach the top kids from every gym, which is a lot of fun.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
honor roll for gymnastics.
Well, and I think too is well, it's like one of the things that I preach to like the college kiddos of like being curious. And I think a good part of them is like as they enter that stage in their life, right? They become a little bit more curious because they're on their own. They have this little bit
Yeah.
more freedom. So they're like trying to like navigate and like figure life out, figure themselves out. And so it's like they start to just ask questions. I'm like, yes, this is the fun part. This is where it gets really interesting and fun to be able to help navigate and guide them down that path.
Yeah, you truly get to know them as humans. It's as an athlete too, like a lot of times you see like little things like the light bulb
Yep.
going on because it's a lot of these kids are so talented. They've done gymnastics for so long. So like they know they can do the skill, but they've never thought about like, oh, like I'm really thinking about this little piece to like really lock
Hmm.
in versus like, I get to do 20 and I'm gonna catch this amount.
Yeah.
Like you
Yeah.
have to be a little more locked in into like your verbal cues and your technique and your self-talk and like that mental aspect of it. So that's fun too.
Yeah. I mean, I guess at the club level, but definitely like at the college level is, I mean, I always just say it's like you're in the people game, right? Like that's ultimately what it is. It's like
Yeah,
building a
it's
connection, knowing how to like what words and what tonality and like how to talk to them and being able to say the same thing in five different ways so that this person and their personalities can understand it. It's like a puzzle to me.
yeah, it's a lot of fun, but it's a different challenge. I mean, people have very different backgrounds within
Yeah.
the gymnastics of like what motivated them or what worked for them, how they learned a skill, and like you have to find a way that it's efficient, but it's also time efficient. Like, sometimes like the technical aspect, like you want to like go back to square one, but you're like, I'm really not gonna have time for that. So like, how can I fine tune what's happening and slowly rebuild a base without like losing this much time? Because we're a quarter school too, so we show up September 20th. So it's like
Oh,
it's quick.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's crazy. What do you feel like? This is the part that intrigues me the most is like from the emotional side of things, like as you have entered in like the college world, right? And it's just a different age range, right? Again, it's 18, 19, 20. They're starting to get curious about life, different than like a 13-year-old going through like emotional things, right? And so, what, like as a coach, obviously, yes, you have all the physical and the technical side of things, but there is like the mental and the emotional side of things. What's been like as you've been around that age group, I guess is the best way to put it, of like, man, like this is really the key to helping them understand. Like, I guess what emotional hurdle do you maybe like see like most common and often? You're like, oh, like if y'all just get this one little thing from this side, it's like, like you're just gonna explode and take off.
I think one thing I found is that like adults are a little more guarded
Mm,
than, when you work with a 12-year-old, like you start joking around a little bit and like you come up with a nickname for them and you're like,
yeah, yeah.
it's easy to like make that click.
Mm-hmm.
And then with adults, like it takes a little bit of more time and groundwork from your part. So like our team, they went through a good amount of change. The previous head coach was here for 3 years, and then it
Mm-hmm.
was us. So we have people on the team that had three sets of coaches.
Oh, wow.
Like we're the third set. Yeah. So it's like, you want to acknowledge that and they've had to adapt. But at the same time, you're like, okay, I get it. Like it's gonna take a little bit of time for you to fully try. And they're super respectful and coachable, but you can see when you cross that line of like, okay, now I really got your
Mm-hmm.
full trust. Like you're bought in versus
Yeah.
like, I'm respectful. I'm gonna take my turns and like look at you in the eye, but there is that when you make that connection, then and then it makes it way easier for you as a coach to like know when to push or when to back off a little bit. Because when you
Yeah.
don't know them, like, some people shut down when they're having a hard day, and then some people like get really tense. And yeah, I think college is a little more personal, and you have to like, also you have to know 19 to 20 people.
Yeah.
Whereas like in
Yeah. Yeah.
club, a lot of times you're coaching 50. So like you know them, but you make it a little more catered to each individual for.
Yeah. That's interesting too, because at first I did this on literally just on a complete accident, right? And then I'd hired a new mentor and he was like, do you know why you're doing that? And I was like, no, I just felt like it was like, I just felt like an important thing, right? And he was like, dude, like, don't ever stop doing that. And what that thing is, anytime like I start working with a new team, is like a coach or whoever, like, okay, like, what's the first thing? Like, what's the first concept we're going to talk about? And I'm like, I got to give a backstory, right? Like I have to help them understand who I am and why I'm here and the journey that I went through to be
Yeah.
able to get to this point so that we can build a connection. Because if I just come in and start whiteboarding, they're going to be like, who is this guy?
And like why?
Yeah, like why is he here? Like, wow, this is so overwhelming. So it's yeah, I totally agree because that's interesting. Again, like was total accident at first. My mentor was like, never stop doing that. I was like, God,
Yeah, that's a good one.
um, curious too is when you were talking about like your journey a little bit. I don't remember if you the word I wrote down was like framework. I don't remember if you used the word like system or framework as you were going through coach, right? Like you were coaching like lower level kids and then you got into like the optional level, higher levels. And so then it becomes a little bit more of like your system and your framework. How long I'm intrigued with this too, because my mentor, again, he was like, dude, like after like 3.5, like he's always taught it and it's always been there. And he's like, after 3.5 years, like I have it. And then like the same thing recently happened. I was like, oh, like this is it.
I
Like I
found it.
see how like, yeah, like how it all fits together. So obviously every year there's tweaks and changes. And you're always trying to improve and grow that. But how long, or I guess like have you found like your kind of framework and how long was that journey just to go on? It's like, yes, like this is it. Like I finally figured out how this whole thing like puzzles together.
That's a good question. I mean, I feel like you're ever evolving, but I try to keep it pretty simple and consistent. So in that sense, I do feel like it's worked differently for different events. Like when I first went to a certain gym, like I was coaching more vault and beam actually, and like that took, a couple
Mm,
months, and then you figure out like your pacing, your time. And I've had the luck of having good people around me or surrounding myself with good people that have. I also like I love to ask questions, so I'm like not afraid of being like, hey, when you were coaching this, or like,
yep.
hey, what's your current assignment for this, or like, watch this video, or like, what do you think about this? So yeah, I kind of take all the feedback and then try to fine tune it into a system that works for me. And then to your point, like you tweak little things in the system. If you go 1 year and you notice that, your entry's a little bit weak, you're like, okay, what am I doing on the board? Like, how can like I
Yep.
remember for a while we were doing like so many turnover drills on roundoffs that it was like they almost didn't know how to be stiff on the board because they were too focused on
Hmm.
like scooping. So I was like, okay, more layouts over the table and like so finding little tweaks, but the groundwork was the same. I don't
Yeah.
For me it wouldn't work to just switch it up.
Yeah. 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 No, that's good. I love I'm like obsessed with like the concept of like curiosity, right? I just think that one of the things I always teach is like there's two worlds, right? And helping them like best way to describe it is like there's this world of chaos and there's this world of like certainty, right? And ultimately it's like you want to live in the world of certainty, right? Like you want to show up to a competition like I
Yeah.
am certain, right? Like that I'm just going to go do the thing, right? And it's a pendulum, right? Like you keep there's a little bit like life becomes chaotic at times. It's like okay, it's like
Yeah.
how do I get back over into this other world that I thoroughly enjoy way more? And I always say, like, I draw a bridge like on the board, and I'm like, the fastest way is just to ask questions, right? Is whether that be a coach, whether that be like a mentor, whether that be a friend, whether that be somebody, it's like, okay, like I'm missing something. Is that something, as somebody who says, like, I just naturally ask a lot of questions? Is that something that you try to like preach and get across to them as well in terms of like, I call it being obnoxiously curious, right? Like get to a point where I'm like,
Yeah.
yo, enough questions.
I mean, yeah, I feel like a lot of my coaching is like, how did that feel? How did it feel different? Like, what was your self-talk before you went into that one? Or like, so just talking to them and like, a lot of times they have the answers themselves. I mean, they've been doing the skill, so it's not
Right.
different than club. I'm not teaching them a skill from scrap a lot of times. So it's like, and especially when they, not only when they take a bad turn, but a lot of times, like when you take the good turn, it's like, what did you feel on that one? Or like, what was different? Like, because that's your moment. Like, that's that learning moment. So yeah,
That's oh man. I love that because I know for me is I'll ask an athlete, I'll be like, when do you feel like is the best time to come talk to me? Right. And they'll be like, well, I guess probably like when I'm struggling, it's like you'll help me like get out of the dip and like get back to my peak. And I'm like, yeah, like I can help you do that. But I was like, honestly, the best time is like when you're thriving and when things are going well, because oftentimes they'll come over and they'll be like, yo, everything is amazing right now. And I'll be like, why? And they're like, I don't know. I'm like,
Yeah. Like
problem. We
figure it
should
out.
solve
Yeah.
that one.
Let's figure that one out.
Because like like are things going to naturally start to dip at some point potentially? And they're like, well, yeah, right. Like life happens, right? We're human beings. And I'm like, if you don't know how and why you created that, then it's like we don't know how to quickly get back
Yeah,
and
like
like
try
stop
to
the
get there.
momentum and
Yeah.
get back over into this world. So I'm yeah, like the good they're like, yep, it was good. It was like, no, 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 no. This is the one we need to talk about.
Yeah. Like what was like I recently had an athlete and she was struggling with the release for like a couple of days. And it honestly, like internally, I knew it was not that big of a deal. I'm like, she's gonna be fine. But
Yeah.
again, gymnastics, type A, like, oh, I missed the
The world
last.
is coming to an
Yeah.
end.
So then we kind of went back to the drills and like cues and whatnot and tweaked a couple of things. And then she had a killer day where it was like
Yeah.
great distance from the bar and like every one of them was caught. And I was like, what was it? Like, what was different today? And at first she couldn't tell me. She's like, well, like I thought like I was dragging my heels. I'm like, no, I think there's more than that. Like I know you were
Yeah.
really like bought into the technical, but like what was it here? And she's like, you know what? Now that I think about it, like I was going over my cues while I was chalking up. But before I got on the bar, I was pretty relaxed. Like I was like
Mm.
chatting with my teammates, or I was singing whatever was on the radio or whatever. So long story short, we go into like our lineup day where we kind of show up whole lineup and warm up comes and we're back to struggling a little bit. And I'm
Yeah.
like, hey, remember that day that you had a great day? How can we duplicate that right now?
Yep.
And like it worked because it's at that point, so much of it is mindset. Like, can you get into that consistent? And I think a lot of times it's so easy to try to analyze your mindset when things are going wrong.
Yep.
And then you start panicking.
Yep.
And then it just like,
Snowballs downhill real
yeah,
fast,
it's a little bit
right?
easier to figure out what's going right when things are going right. Like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%, right? And it's I think that like I like often tell them, I'm like, what's the primary role of your brain, right? And they're like, to think. I'm like, kinda. I'm like, the primary role of your brain is survival. Like that's what it's designed. Like keep right hunters and gatherers in the day, right? It was like
Yeah.
watch out for the lions and tigers, right? That's kind of how we're designed. And so it's when we get in these moments and all of a sudden it feels different, then we quickly go into survival
Yeah. Like,
mode.
yeah. Yeah.
And so then it's like I have to recognize that like, whoa, I'm in survival mode. Like, how do I get into thrive mode? Okay, what is my normal like routine? What are the how do I call it being in a state, right? Like knowing what your most powerful state is and then having the answers to the test, right? Like for this girl, it's like, okay, it's like I'm gonna say these words, I'm gonna do these things, I'm gonna be fun and playful, I'm gonna sing this song. Go.
Yeah. You find your, and then you
Don't
learn with each athlete. Like another little example, we had an athlete that was out last year with an injury. And last year was my first year. So I've never coached her like under pressure.
right, right.
So we go to the first inner squad and she's getting ready and she's kind of looking down and she looks up at the bar and like I go over to her and she's like, I just like need a minute. And I'm like, thank you. Like I need that information.
Yes.
So next time I went before, like while she was chalking up, I went over and, gave her a little pep talk. And then I knew that like that was her time for herself. And she does great with it. Some people like that's when you go over and you're like, oh, what are we having for dinner tonight? Or like
Yeah.
it just works so differently with different people. So
Yeah.
getting to know
Yeah.
them for them to be comfortable too, like, because, she could have just like
Listen
shake
to
my
you.
head and, oh, yeah,
Yeah.
it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah. Well,
she
and I
was
think
very respectful, very comfortable. She's like, I just kind of need to, like, this is my thing and I got it.
And I think too that that's again, it kind of goes back to connection a little bit, is like having that connection because a lot of times, like at least in my experience in the gymnastics world too, especially when you get to the college level, it's like, okay, well, like don't be selfish, don't be selfish, don't be selfish. I'm like, yeah, your team needs you to be selfish right now. Like, what do you need, right? Like, do you
Yeah.
need to go over in that corner right now and be by yourself for like the next two people that are going in front of you, right? Like, do you need somebody to come over and talk to you? So, what is it that you need so that you can go out and thrive, right? And I think helping them understand that, like, I'm obsessed with words, right? And I like always ask them, I'm like, is selfish good or bad? And I get a wide array, and I'm like a wide array of answers or variety of answers, and I'm just like, well, it depends, right? Like sometimes selfishness
Yeah.
can be good. And then like, yes, there are sometimes that selfishness can be bad. And so it's recognizing in those moments of like, hey, this is time for me that I need to do to prepare myself. And like helping them understand like that freedom of it, right? Like I think that's critical.
Yeah, and even as a staff, that's something that we kind of talked like last year before season. We'll probably do it again this year. We sat as a team and we went over this exercise like, when am I at my best?
Mm, hmm.
So like, what do you need before a meet? Do you need a pep talk from your teammate? And also like a lot of times in gymnastics, like, don't be bossy, don't be selfish, blah blah blah. But I'm like, if you need the bar tighter, it's a meet setting. Like you better be like, hey, pull the cable up. Like and they're there to help you. Like embrace your role. Like if you're tightening up bars, you're helping your teammates.
Yep.
And if you need the bar tighter, like speak up. It's okay. And then if you need me to come over and like run you through the thing too is like it's about you. Like
Yep.
I know what would make me feel more comfortable before the meet and like giving you like a technical rundown of your routine, but that's if it's not going to help you, this is not about me. Like this is how can
Yep.
I best help you be your best and be ready to go when you salute. And for some people it's technical, for some people it's like give them space, for some people it's like, "Oh, what's for dinner today?" or "How's your mom doing?" kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. I
yeah.
love that. I love that. All right, slightly, since we're talking about words, slightly shifting gears because you used when you were talking about just like describing yourself a little bit, one of the things that you mentioned was like how competitive like you naturally were growing up or when you first got into coaching. And like, what does that mean and look like for you in terms of like being a competitor and like bringing out the competitiveness in the athletes that you do get to coach? Because I like for me is words matter, and it's not just gymnastics. I think in sports in general is there's all these words and people just throw them out and they've just become like for instance, right? Like in gymnastics, one of their favorite ones is like, well, I want to be more consistent. I'm like, great. What does that mean to you? Right? Like
Yeah.
what is that act like I can't because the analogy I give I'm like, do you watch basketball? And they're like, well, kind of. I'm like, okay, do you know who Steph Curry is? They're like, yeah. I'm like, do you know who Shaq is? They're like, okay, yeah. I'm like, Shaq's consistency at the free throw line is drastically different than Steph Curry's consistency at the free throw line, right? It's like, but they know what their consistency is. So, like, bringing that back to like just being able to define like being a competitor or being competitive, like, what does that look like for you? And preaching or coaching them, like bringing that out in them.
I think more so than I mean, we all do this. Everybody likes to win, I think. Or at
Yeah,
least like I
yeah,
couldn't see myself doing something where you don't like to win, but
yeah,
more than that is a challenge. Like I like to take on a challenge and then be like, check.
yeah.
So it's not necessarily that you won, but for example, the challenge might be, for someone being more consistent, but then to your point is like, okay, can we increase the quality of your consistency? So that's a challenge. Or the challenge might
Mm-hmm.
be, you're super consistent in training, but when you're under pressure, this is the things that I'm seeing. So like, how can I help you thrive under pressure or handstands or like last year we had a bit of a tough season with a lot of injuries, so the challenge was like
Mm,
I knew that the scoring ceiling was a little bit lower and that was first year in college, you're figuring it out as you go, but I was like the challenge and the win this year is like can you get people that have not done a bar routine in 3 years and get them ready and compete, and like that was the win, and that's the competitiveness in it. So it's not necessarily like a placing, it's more so like that challenge that you take on, and then I love like checklists and being like check, check, check.
are you a highlighter too?
I am not a highlighter. No,
just the
no.
checklist, just being able to check things off the list.
And especially like this is a funny story, but I've always because my last couple of years in club, I was co-head coach. So I had a good amount of office work, but it's different.
Yeah,
So my
yeah.
first few months in college, like I just felt like so unproductive in the office. And I'm like, I need to find like a flow. Like I just don't feel like I have a flow and a system again. And all it took was like a check, like in the morning, I made my checklist, I put it there, and then boom, 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 done. good.
That's funny. That's yeah. I will say like so you definitely lean more like logical versus emotional. I mean, we all have both at some level, right? But
Yeah.
like you definitely thrive more on like the logical side of things, like data, spreadsheets, things like
I think I'm
that.
pretty logical, yeah,
Yeah.
in general.
Yeah.
But I'm
That's so
also pretty social.
yeah. Yeah.
So
But like if you had like your go-to, like is it going to be more data driven?
in what sense? Like, give me an example.
Like if you're going to make a decision like on anything, would you look at data more or like just like internal vibe, gut feeling like this is the direction I'm going to go?
I actually think it's gut feeling.
Is it? Oh, that's
Because
fascinating.
I've made a couple of
Yeah.
decisions before that like things the data said like do this, but my gut
Yeah.
said this, and I
Yeah.
just you got to trust it.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I definitely thrive way more on like the emotional side. I know even my wife is like, it's kind of creepy how good at like you're reading people. I'm just
Yeah.
like, I don't know. It's like, but that like that's like the lens that I look at it through. So anytime I'm talking to somebody, like that's like my filter, right? I'm like, how does this feel like? How does this
Yeah.
conversation go? Like I'm paying attention to all that. Um, versus data checklist. Now, I will say the one thing is like the night before, like on this whiteboard, I'm like, okay, what are the two things that like must get done tomorrow? And just write them on there and just be like, okay, like that's those are the must that must get done.
There's something about a visual. Like I like a visual, like something that you just see and it's there.
Yeah. Oh, that's I can agree with that. I definitely working on a project right now and a buddy's like helping me with it. And he like describes all this to me and I'm like, can you just show me? Like, can you
Yeah.
please just show it to me? I kind of understand what you're talking about, but I need to see it.
Yeah, I'm a pretty visual person.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I think too, going back to like the challenging competitor conversation too, is I think it's again, it's just like defining things is, and I think either consciously or unconsciously, it sounds like you do a fascinating job of this, is just defining what winning is. I think that oftentimes athletes, and I've even asked them, I'm like quickly, like when you hear the word win, like automatically, like what do you think of is like the definition? And they're like first place. And I'm like, that's just not true, right? Like
Yeah.
win can be what you define it as. Is
Yeah.
it something from the technical side? Is it something learning something? Is the win like, hey, I prepared these three new people that they can go out and compete? Like those things are wins and helping them just like reframe that from like first place, first place, first place. I'm like, there's a million ways to win. You just figured out what it looks like for you.
Yeah, I mean that's a big one, I think. Because then so many people will be unhappy. I mean, you have one person that wins first place, and there's so many wins within. When you go to a meet, you have however many teams, and everybody has wins that they can celebrate. Of course, yeah, you want to win first place, but only one's gonna get that. That's
Yeah. And I think too is like even like there's certain teams that like I'm around and like their mission, their end all be all goal is like, would it be super cool to win like an NCAA national title? They're like, yeah, but I'm like, okay, but what's really your team mission this year? And if it's not that, then that's your win, right?
yeah,
Like, of course, yes, it would be dope as hell, right? To go out there and win the NCAA national title. But like, if that seems like if you don't have that internal belief, like right now in that, then it's like, okay, what is this season's win in terms of is that top four, top eight, top 16, top 20, top 36? Like, what does that look like for the team? And I think getting them to see that, buy into that is way more powerful than be like, we're going to be national champs.
well, and also like sometimes just being process oriented, like because you go on team retreat and numbers start getting thrown out, and it's like
Yep.
number, and I'm like, okay, let's like we did this at this team retreat, and the numbers were most of the numbers were pretty realistic, and then we got to vault, and there was like a little bit of discrepancy between the team because we have a couple 10 vaults, not all of them,
Yeah.
compared to like the top teams, like not even close, but you could still
Right.
score pretty well with faults, whatever.
Facts.
But they're throwing out like 49-3 and blah, so we were like, hey, let's do this. Like, let's not get too caught up in the number. Why don't we talk about the quality? Like, are we talking about big vaults that are stuck or that you have a slight over rotation in the right direction and no body position? Like, those little things and defining those. And that's going to be way more attainable because when you go to meet, whether you have the nicest scoring in the world or the tightest scoring in the world, you can define that. Like you can go again to my checklist point, like check, check, check. My hips were flat. I had a slight little hop backwards, or I stuck my vault, like that's there. But when you put so much emphasis on this number, then that's different. But there's certain things that are like, like a placing, you do have to pick a number and then you have to believe it and you have to like drive it in and you have to throw it in to practice. Like if you don't say it, if you go to team retreat and you're like, we want to make Sweet 16, which is what our team said this year, and then we just put that in our back pocket and never say it. So it's like, when you're Saluda routine today, I'm like, okay, we're at round 2 of regionals and you're anchoring bars and this is the score that we need. Like, let's go.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, man, we vibe. Like, because I totally agree, is I think oftentimes like teams will set the thing, like the dream outcome of like
Yeah.
a placement thing. And then to your point is like you have to talk about it. Like it has to
Yeah.
be like at the forefront of your mind. You can't just be like, okay, well, we wrote this on a piece of paper on September 5th, and then like we'll wait till April 20th to figure out like, did it happen or did it not? And like everybody mums the word between now and then, right? It's like, no, it doesn't work that way. Like you have to talk about it. And it's interesting too that like I even tell like club younger, and I'd love to get your perspective on this, like even like kids that want to get recruited, also kids that are in college too. I'm like, talk about winning. Like people feed off that. There's a
Yeah.
certain level of like energy, right? If you're recruiting kids like, yo, I want to win. It's like, oh yeah, I want that kid, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Like it,
like, but I think in their brain, there's like this taboo word, right? Like, shh, don't use
well,
that
it's
word.
like a little bit is a fear of failure, or a big part of it, I think, is like, even right now, if you put it out there and it's like, oh, if you don't make Sweet 16, I'm like, oh my God, I put it out there. Like, who cares? Like, that's the goal. Uh, and then the other part of it too is like, I love gymnastics, but I wish we were a little bit more like other sports, like
In
hit four
terms
for
of
four, just in terms of competitiveness. Like, I think a lot of times, like,
like,
it's
what do you mean in terms of
it's
like,
really prescribed, like what gymnasts say, like hit 4 for 4. I just want to do my best. I'm like,
oh
no,
yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
you want to do more than that, and it's okay to say it.
Well, that's interesting too. Yeah, like because obviously, like when I sit down, like go from the team, and then I start to like sit down with individuals, like exact same thing, right? And I'll even ask like club kids, I'm like, what do you think is the most common answer when I sit down and ask it like a college gymnast of like what it is they want? And like most of them like can say it's like they want to compete or they want to be in a lineup, right? I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, but even like when I'm talking to the actual athlete, I'm like, I think you want more than that. I don't think you just like want to just like, yes, I got in the lineup this whole year. It's like, are you good with like 9.5s the entire year? And they're like, well,
Yeah.
no. I'm like, okay, so there's more pieces to this. I'm just giving you an example. It could be a number, it could not be a number, but paint that picture of me like what it looks like that's that ideal like routine for you 5 months from now, right? Like what is it that you're actually like wanting to progress towards? Yeah, because it's just vague, right? Like if you don't know where to give your attention, I like you have to have some destination. Like you don't get in the car and then just start driving and get to a stop sign and go, all right, I'm gonna go left here and then get to the next stop sign and I'm gonna go right. If somebody's in the car,
Yeah.
they're gonna be like, yo, where are we going? It's like, I don't know. I'm just like making it up as we go. It's like
Cruising
problem.
around. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We talk about it a lot within our team of, you know, give us the why and the how, not the what. Like, you know, I want to get a whatever score, or I want to make a lineup, but like, how are you going to make that lineup? And why do you want to make that lineup? And I think that
Mm-hmm.
makes it think a lot deeper than
Have
just like
you, yeah, have
throwing
you
it out.
ever incorporated, like, I'm obsessed with, yes, I think why is like, if you have strong enough reasons, you'll figure anything out, right?
Yeah, like
uh,
what's
like I say, like, if coach came in and told you to hold a 5 minute blank, you'd be like, why? Right. And if he's like, I don't know, because it just sounds like a good idea, you'd be like, okay, whatever. Right. But if it like coach came in and was like, hold a 5 minute blank, it's like, why? It's like, I'll give you $1 million, or otherwise I'm going to take your scholarship, right? Like if there was a strong, you'd be like, okay, like I'm going to figure this out, right? Like I'm gonna hold this
Yeah, it has
plane
to
because it
matter.
100%. Have you ever like, do you guys ever talk about like, I'm obsessed with like the concept of like identity too, and like incorporated like the who into that because who you are now, like if you want more, you have to become more, right? Like as a person, as a competitor, it's just like the growth concept. Do you guys ever talk about that, or is it just more like lean towards down like reasons specifically?
I don't think we've talked about it in that way. I mean, I like that because you're ever evolving, so that's pretty interesting. One thing that we did talk about a lot, like we kind of define on year one, because again, we came in and we were like, we're a new staff. We want to get to know you, and then we want to
Yep.
come up with identity. Like, we don't want to come in and give you this prescribed, like, this is like, we'll meet you where you're at right now, and then we'll start like pulling you with
Nudging.
us.
Yep.
Yeah. Uh, but year one, we really like came up with this term of like Montlake mentality. So university is in Montlake.
Mm,
So it's like that framework. And we're like, we can change our word every year. I know every team does this where, you have your word and
right.
but I'm like the mentality is the program. Like whoever, and the goal is that, you know, 100 years from now, that mentality is still there through the
Yeah.
people that pass through the program. So that's it's not the who, but in a way, it's like the framework, the mind.
Yeah. 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 Because I think, yeah, I totally agree with that. Like, definitely, like, there has to be some kind of like vision of like, this is who we are, and we're going to continue to grow and expand, like, of like that team identity, right? Like, even if it's kind of the same, like, this is, I think of like football, right? It's like when Coach Saban came into Alabama, is like they were like the fourth quarter program, right? Then everybody started being like fourth quarter, right? Like, but I think they kind of laid that. I just think that the who is the analogy I usually use is like actually I can give two examples. One random and then one gymnastics. The random one would be like if you had a plumbing problem at home and you called an electrician, it's like even if you handed them the instructions how to do it, it's like they might be able to figure it out, but it's also not their forte, or it would take them like a really long time, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, I'm handy. It's like I can figure this out, but like it's going to take me like 2 days to like figure this out versus like if you call the plumber, it's like, yeah, like I can do this in 10 minutes type thing because it's the right person fixing that problem. Or for instance, like before, you know, you got hired on and they're like, okay, we need a bars coach. And let's say like I was working with your team like prior to that. Like, you know what? Like, we're not going to hire a bars coach. We're just going to have Ryan come in and run bars. And I'm just going to give him how we're going to do this. It's like, you guys would be pissed because like I am the wrong person to go run those assignments and things over there. So like continuing to evolve and grow that identity, like I think it's just like a key piece, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Yeah. So just
Yeah.
curious of
I
like,
think especially with, I mean, identity is yours. Like it's unique to you. So you have to find what works for you. And especially, I think with sports, honestly, with anything in life, like it's so easy to go on social media and see like, oh
yep.
gosh, this drill is working or this mindset or whatever. And like, I'm going to do it. And if it doesn't make sense to you, it's not going to work for you, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's like,
I no, I totally agree. I think there's I'm stealing this from like one of the athletes because I was like, you can model things, right? You might see a drill, you might see a certain process, and you can be like, ooh, I like that, but I'm going to make it mine based off of like
yeah,
my identity, my personality. It's like I'm going to model some concepts of that, but I'm going to make it mine. Versus to your point, I think way too many people see something and try to copy and paste. And the analogy she gave, and I was like, yeah, I'm stealing that, just so you know. She was like, if like you go on the internet and you copy something like off a website and then you take it over to a Google Doc and you paste it, it
all
like
right.
looks funky. Yeah. And I was like,
Yeah,
yes, like that is it. Right. And I think too many people, they like look on Instagram and they're like, yes, I'm going to copy and paste that. And then they get over there and they're like, okay, it didn't work how it did in the video. Like, yeah, because
yeah.
you're literally trying to, it's not yours.
And then just finding like identity too with like your team. You know what
Yep.
works for one team is not going to work for the other team. And then but there should be that underlying, which for us, like I said, it's that mentality aspect of it, where that's the identity of the program. So we're trying to attract people that strengthen the identity. You don't have to be the
Yep.
same because you get
Yep.
stronger with like different people,
Yep. Totally
but you
agree.
do have to have some of those values. And then, like our team is not the loudest team, and like that's okay. Like
It,
they're pretty analytical and they're very crafty. And like, we've learned that sometimes goal setting, like go into small groups and then let's come back together as a whole. Whereas like year one, we were in this gigantic circle and it was like, okay, like someone wants to talk and it took a while. And then we're like, okay, we need to make it more comfortable for them. And then we put them in
yes.
small groups and it's like boom, boom, boom. And then so just finding what works for them or
That's fascinating you say that too, because even down to uh I was around like a group of athletes, and one of the coaches that they're around is a number of them had like questions that they wanted to ask them. And I'm like, that coach works very well one on one, right? Like, don't try to go in as a group. Like, it just doesn't work. Like, communication,
yeah.
that's not right, wrong, good, bad. It's like, just understand that that's how they operate and work very well. And they're like, oh, no wonder half our ideas don't click. I'm like, yeah, when there's like 10 of you in the room trying to like bombard,
Yeah.
right? It's like, it's just not like how that person communicates well. And that's not bad. Like, but you just know and understand that.
Yeah. And you like embrace it and you make it your own and you go with it.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I love that. I love that. Um, what's Okay, so like there's this concept where like I like see is a lot of times like when I talk with just athletes in general is like I'm like, do you live in like this like crash and burn cycle, right? Like they go up and then they come down and they're like, I've had enough, and then they get back to the top, and then it's like all of a sudden they feel themselves come down again. For you, I feel like, and this could just be going back to like curiosity and questions, but how do you obviously like the best time to stop momentum is like at the very beginning, right? Like if a car tips down a hill, it's like when it tips an inch, it's like I can push it back. But like if you're standing at the bottom of the hill thinking that you're going to catch the car, it's like problem, right? Like, and I think that that's
That's a
how
good
they're like,
analogy. Yeah, that's great.
yeah, wait till they get to the bottom and they're like, I'm going to stop this. I'm like, no, it's literally going to just going to kill you, right? Like crash and burn. So what are some of the ways is like, obviously, as you build these connections and as you see people, it's like, okay, it's like the car is starting to tip, like to stop momentum so that they don't get in that downward cycle, so that you can help them like elevate and grow. Like, what are some of your ways of going about that? And it may just go back to like the curiosity stuff too.
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a great analogy because I never thought about it that way. But yeah, like who would wait down the hill? I mean, I think communication is huge and relationships are huge. You just have to know your athletes, and that just takes time. And
Yep.
being, again, asking the questions and like getting to know them and what works for them. Like some people feel very comfortable going back to a drill and then some people, it takes a little more convincing because it almost feels like a downgrade. Like, I can do it. Like, you just got to believe in me. I can do it. So, I'm all about finding anchors in your gymnastics when it comes to technical, but even like the mental side, like what are your anchors? So usually like
Mm.
reverting to that. So as soon as, I see a turn that's a little bit off, and it kind of depends. If it's someone that I know doesn't panic easily, then I might just let it go and be like, hey, just remember, feel a little more pressure here, or, take your time, be patient. But if it's someone, I mean, you could usually tell like when the wheels start turning after that one
Yeah.
turn. And then we talk a lot about like reframing of, I think a lot of times when a negative thought comes to your mind, you're like, oh, don't think about that. Like accept it and then just let it flow and like let it go.
Yeah. I love the reframe thing is because I think that I don't know if they're like taught this. I mean, obviously, this is probably just a little bit of like human instinct of the worst. I mean, the absolute worst thing you can do is try to fight against it, right?
Yeah.
And
If you start in
y-
like
it's like,
survival mode, it's like I'm fighting it and I'm tense and then
because I tell them, I'm like, if I punch you, what are you going to do? And they're like, punch you back. I'm like, yeah, that's what you're doing internally, right? Like you feel this like stress and you're like, all right, I'm going to punch and try to get rid of it. And it's like, all right, well, it's just gonna punch back harder, right? And then it's like it's gonna ultimately win, right? Like those emotions are way too strong inside of you. So it's like don't try to fight it to your point of like recognize, accept. It's like I love the concept of like reframing, right? It's like I had a mentor, and as stupid as silly as it is like an internal question. And she'd be like if I would describe something, she'd be like, okay, but what's the opposite of that? I'm like, you're not listening to me. She's like, but what's the opposite of that? Right. Like, and it's just like
Yeah.
it forces me to answer. It's like if I'm stressed, like what's the opposite of that? Peace, excitement, inspiration. Okay, great. Have you ever felt that? Tell me about a time that you felt inspired.
Rather than
Right.
switching it.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I love that. All right, couple more things that like I had written down. Where do you Okay, so there's like I have this like idea of there's like dream big versus dream clear. And some people, especially at the college level, as I feel like maybe not everybody, but a lot of them, like they have this ability to dream big. And then you're like, tell me about that. And they're like, I don't know. It's like, okay, so it's not clear yet. Like you have this ability to dream big, but like it doesn't need to be clear. And then some people need to, they just sell themselves short, right? And I think that is a little bit of human instinct of like, I don't want to like not or I don't want to dream big because then if I fail, then I feel like failure versus like I'll just dream like mediocre. I'll live in the middle. Like I just got to grow a little bit, right? In order to achieve that. For you, what have you kind of noticed in like helping them understand? Like, is it more of like the dream big or is it more of the dream clear? Is there one or the other, or is it just kind of a combination of both?
It's definitely a combination of both, but I
Yeah,
do see people within the team that tend to go one way, and then some other people that tend to go the other
but
way.
the
And
other
it's
way.
usually like I feel like you're more analytical people tend to try to go with the clear because
Yeah.
that's, laid out for you and it's a little more
Yeah.
clear. You're thinking about it. And then the more emotional people tend to go with like the dream big because that feels good. And
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. That like kind of takes me back to something I was going to say earlier too when you're talking about like steps and process is and then tying it with like the dream big concept is I think helping them recognize that like both right is you can September 5th you set this big dream right and then you get into like the grind right like then preseason happens and it becomes very like steps process oriented of like how are we going to accomplish this big dream and reminding them going back to like talking about it is like you need both right like I can't
Yeah.
just only think about steps and process and forget about the destination and I can't only focus on the destination and not think about like the steps and
Yeah. You need a
process
good
with it.
combination of both and like checkpoints and
Yes, love that concept. Yeah,
well, and the
yeah.
other thing is like the destination can stay the same, but then you might have to pivot in how you get there.
Yeah, right,
Because
like
things will happen. I mean, that's like recently we talked with the team about that because they had, one of our goals was like have 10 routines ready on every event for depth. But then we were like, okay, let's define depth. Is it 10 routines that are ready to any point? Or if we lose our 6%, are we dropping from a 9.8 to a 9.5?
yeah, yeah.
So like what's the quality of the depth? So it's like let's get a little more analytical as to like how we're going to close that gap. And then what is it going to take to get there? And then let's hold each other accountable. Because again, it's really easy at retreat to say that, but then when you're
What
putting the bar routine together and the other people have the bar routine or the beam routine, or you're still tumbling and it's not on the hard floor, like you will need your teammates to say like, "Hey, you got this. Like, let's do this." And it's okay to say like, "Hey, remember at retreat you said blah blah blah," and as a team we came up with this. Like, you're that 10th person. Like, let's go, and you're gonna push nine, and nine will push eight, and
Yep.
so on and so forth. So I think that's pretty important. But then, like I said, also talking about, not just giving a number, but what is the quality? Because to our point, we were like, I feel like right now we have a good lineup situation, but things will happen.
Yep. As they always
Someone will
do.
get sick, someone might roll an
Yep.
ankle, some like things do happen. And let's not wait to talk about those things till they when they happen. Like let's talk about it now and how are we gonna like what are we get doing to get ready for when that happens?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah. And I love like the as I'll say at any time, or just remind athletes, especially like the retreat, right? When everyone's rah,
Yeah,
like
like
we're
the
gonna
high,
conquer the
yeah.
world, is I'm like, okay, be careful what you tell me because I can only assume you're not a liar, right? And it's like if you say this, you want this thing, if you say you want this destination, if you say you want to build this dream, it's like, okay, like I'm assuming for that because now I'm going to go out and watch your behaviors and your actions and do they align with that, right?
Yeah,
And if
like
they don't,
show
then
me you want to do it. Don't just say it.
I'm going to need to say something to you because I assume you're not a liar and I need to make sure that you're on track.
That's a good one. But yeah, that
Yeah. All right, two more questions. For you, if somebody was hiring you, um, like if you were in an interview too, it's like what would you say is like your biggest like superpower that kind of like sets you apart, maybe that you do something just better as a like as a really good like strength for you, like as a coach,
hmm.
or it could be as a person.
I think this is as a coach and as a person, I'm really consistent.
Mm-hmm. You
Like
know
with
what you're
how
gonna
I show
get.
up, with my
Yeah.
work ethic, with the highs aren't super high, but the lows aren't super low. Like I just like I think one, I have a really good work ethic. That's just like, parenting and culture
Yeah.
and family and then I'm really, really consistent. So I feel like that's a
Yeah. That
superpower. Like, and
it,
and you have to find like, because I remember there's been times where I'm like, oh, I wish I was like a little more hype. Like
yeah.
I do
Yeah.
watch these coaches and they're like, yeah, and I'm like, oh, that's just not me. But then you're like, that doesn't need to be me. Like
And
what works for
it
it
would
wouldn't be
almost
genuine. Yeah.
yeah, I was gonna say, even if you did it like at this point, all the girls would be like, all right, that's weird.
Yeah, and like the excitement is then they know I care and like, but it's gonna be super consistent. And then if they're having like if I'm frustrated, and I know someone can do better. It's not gonna be this like super low. It's like, hey, come over and let's have a conversation. Like it's a
Yeah,
very predictable behavior, I would say. Like,
I love that. Yeah, I
yeah.
think that that is rare.
Well,
Because
and
I
it
think
gives the athletes like such a safe space to train at. Like it's
there's stability, right?
yeah,
It's not a
it's pretty
volatile environment.
yeah.
We've all been
Steady
in
Eddie,
volatile
yeah.
environments.
Yeah. Or also like, sometimes same with like the situation. Like I feel like some people when things are going great, they coach one way, and then when things get a little tough, they coach a different way. And I'm like, the cool thing with gymnastics, I was talking to the team about this because I went to our basketball game, and gymnastics is the hardest sport, in my opinion.
I
Like it's
don't disagree.
insane.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I don't imagine coaching a ball sport where you have to like watch film and then you're making decisions on the spot and you're like, oh, let's do this play, blah, 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 and let's do this. And you need to move here. And like this center is doing this. And I'm like, our job is the same.
Yeah.
And we get to perfect this routine and like really fine tune your craft. But we're gonna do the same routine, whether we're against Oklahoma or we're against D3 or we're at Big Tens or we're whatever we're going down to UCLA or we're going to Maryland. Like the routines are the same.
That's a really good point. I've never really thought about it from that perspective.
And
Yeah,
your
it's like
job's
you,
the same. And like we talked about that a lot last year. Like your job is the same whether you follow a 10 or your teammate in front of you falls. Like you're gonna pick it up and your job is literally the same. And that's pretty
yeah.
rare in sports.
It- yeah, I'm like thinking on the spot because like baseball, it's the same. It's like, what's the scenario? Like, do I need to
Yeah.
bring a different pitcher in? Do I need to change
Yeah.
hitters? Like, what do I need to do? What's my lineup going to be? Kind of type thing based off of like, is the opposing pitcher left-handed or right-handed? Right? Like,
I guess a
there's,
lot of like the time sports are your job is it's the same.
yeah, probably like track, things like that.
Swimming, yeah, diving. I mean, diving, you could change your dives, I know, but
Well, and I think too, also thinking on the spot is yes, there are other sports like this, swimming, diving. Um, but there's not somebody trying to like impede like on your routine. Like nobody's throwing a ball
yeah,
at you, right? Like nobody's like,
yeah,
all right, dodge this ball while you're on the beam and do your beam routine, right? Like football, it's like, okay, I'm gonna run, but it's like, okay, do I need to like change the play like on the thing because
yeah. Like
they're
it's
about
like
to stop the run, so I need to do a pass. Like it's it nobody's trying to like come at you, I guess, which
Yeah,
is
I mean that.
different. Yeah,
Yeah, so I think the more you can lock into that, my job is the same, and
that's good. I like that.
how
Hmm.
do I get really good at that job when things are hard, when I have, we have finals during Big Tens, like that's just the way our schedule works, and like that's life. And then the other thing that and I've kind of adapted or adopted this into my life too, is like a lot of times we wait for things to get easier
Yeah.
because you're just waiting, like, oh, like, it's gonna get easier, and it's like, no, you'll just get better at handling it, and it kind of comes and goes. Like,
Well, that's interesting you bring that up too, because oftentimes I make the argument that it like as you grow, the dragons that you're trying to slay are actually trying to get harder. You just become more equipped, right?
yeah,
Like at the beginning, it's like you have nothing, and then you grow, and it's like, okay, I have a sword now, right? And then you have a shield, and then you have
yeah,
armor, but like it doesn't get easier. The dragons get harder.
just get a little bit better.
Yeah,
You
you
go
get
up the
better.
levels, yeah.
Yeah, because it's like when you're playing a video game, it's like you're at level one, and it's like then the boss in the next level is a little bit harder, but like you get better with the character that you have. And then it's like, okay, I beat that level. Now they give me a new sword, right? Like now they give me a better weapon to be able to use in order to slay the next boss, kind of type thing. So that's good. Yeah, because I think it almost happens the opposite. It doesn't get easier. It's like, probably it's
Yeah.
harder.
Well, especially like with gymnastics, so you want to find those moments of like, you had a tough workout, and then that last routine, you hit whatever the assignment was. Is like, put that one in your pocket. Like that is the
Yes.
one. It's, again, a lot of times like you're waiting for that great day, but you can learn from both. Like you learn from the bad days and you learn from the good days, or like, you follow a fall in a lineup or a mock meet, and it's like that you just did is valuable. Like put it in your pocket, and like
Yep.
we
I'm
talk about deposits, and like just that's a good deposit. Just keep it there.
Yep, yep, yep. I call it building your deck of cards, like stack and proof. It's like spades. Some things you're gonna have the ace of spades, and sometimes you're gonna have two of clubs, but you're still building your deck.
Yeah, you just gotta.
Either one, it's like you need both cards. It's like if you win a national title, like that's a big card that you need to play, right? But like you hit a really clean routine, like in an inner squad at the time, it's like great. It's still a card. Like
Yeah,
it's not
you
like
just
you're waiting for the one card to have.
yeah. Which I think a lot of times like athletes think like, oh, there's gonna be that aha
Moment.
moment. Yeah, and it's like, no, it's kind of like it's a process.
Yes, totally, totally, totally agree. All right, last question for you.
Alrighty.
All right, if you were in a stadium with 100,000 people and you could only leave them with one message, what would your message be?
Oh shoot, this is deep. I
We went from casual combo to
know.
heartfelt.
Oh, that's a hard one. I'm trying to think. That was at the same. I mean, this is so cliche, but I just think that you only get one life, so do what makes you happy, and that's kind of it, I think.
Yeah, well, as cliche as it is, I would argue like 90% of the people in the world don't, right?
Yeah,
Like I think that people chase after dreams or things that aren't theirs, that was their parents' dream, that was a coach's dream, that was something that, a friend group talked about. So they just went after the same thing so that they could fit in versus like what actually like pulls them,
yeah, like
whatever they're
enjoy what
called.
you're doing, and like find another way of putting it would be like find your calling and like what you're passionate about. Like I cannot imagine not liking my job.
Well, and I think that unfortunately, because like you said, is most people is they don't try things. This is like one of the things like talk with like the college. I'm like, yo, like try everything. I know that like sometimes it's hard with time and like
Yeah.
what's the demands that you have, but try as many things as you can because again, my old business partner, his wife was like a PA and she was like afterwards, it's like, I don't know. And I had an old teammate that went to like law school, right? And it's like I've seen people go all that journey and then be like, yeah, I don't really love this. I'm like, we don't have to do it. And they're like, no, yes, I have to. I'm like, why? And they're like, why? I spent like $500,000 on this. I was like, yeah, but it's kind of a sunk cost at this point.
Yeah,
Like,
in a way it is.
either way, the 500,000 is gone, right? Like, so you're just gonna let, or people graduate, and it's not even something that deep. It's like they get a job that's like decent paying, and and then they're like, well, like I don't want to go backwards and like just eat peanut butter and jellies to like, work my way up to like something that I want to do. I'm like, I would like,
Yeah, I would too. Yeah.
I would sleep on somebody's couch and eat beanie weenies for a year to like find it. Because I mean, internships, right? As we talked about a little bit before, is like when I was in San Diego, it's like I was like eating beanie weenies out there with San Diego rent, right? Like, and other ones, right? I mean, my very first one, I mean, I was sleeping half the time in a closet, like at the facility. Like I just take my duffel bag and like there was a dark
Oh wow.
closet. Yeah. And it was unpaid. And so fortunately, like it was in the weight room. So it's like I ate protein bars and protein shakes that like the football players didn't want, and my stomach paid for it.
In shambles.
Yeah. So, but I mean, to me at the time, it's just like, okay, like this is just part of it, right? Like, it just is.
One if you're passionate about it, then you see the light at the end. You're like,
This isn't
this is the
forever.
destination, and like these are the little steps to get there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
So,
yeah.
as cliche as it is, I think it's powerful because I do think that most people don't. They just get stuck and they're like, well, I guess this is it. I'm like, it's not, I promise. So,
Yeah, and you only get I saw this thing, it was like it might have been on Instagram, which is like pretty silly, but it said like the average person gets like 75 summers. And they were like, where are you at with your summers? I was like, okay,
you,
if I'm 35, like I was doing the math and I was like, oh shoot. Because a lot of times, like, you get into this work mode or whatever, and you don't find things that like fill your cup. And you're just waiting
you,
for next year and next year. And
it's crazy to go off of that because you said the number 75 is I was listening to somebody that like on a podcast that I just frequently listen to, and he was like, the average life expectancy, like as a human or here in America, is like 76 years old. He's like, everyone thinks that they're going to live to 100 and they think that 50 is the midway point. He's like, if you're 36, like half of your life is gone. So are you living what you actually want to live? And I was like,
yeah.
oh God.
Yeah, sometimes those reminders are like, whoa,
Yeah.
but
Like,
thank you.
phew.
But I wasn't ready for that, but thank you.
Yeah. All right. My day just turned around.
But yeah, each day, make it count, right? Make each day count.
Totally, totally. Well, awesome, man. This was fun. I appreciate you. I always tell like purpose of the podcast is just share stories. I think stories are like what move people. And so selfishly, I like to hear other people's stories. And then the people that listen, it's like, oh yeah, like, and other
Yeah.
people's stories resonate with different people. So I appreciate you just coming on, sharing your story, sharing your knowledge, wisdom, and like how you've grown and expanded and just like your perspective and like the frame and the lens that you look at things through. Super cool, super unique, man. So I appreciate you.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me. That was fun. And thank you for not sending me like questions ahead of time. That would have made me feel more at ease, but actually this was a good flow and
Loved it, dude.
kind of like unnatural, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Love it. Well, until next time, everybody. Peace.